What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So to close out last week, we did have the Game Awards, which means we saw all kinds of winners, new game announcements, confusion, controversy. There was stuff all over the place, and we're going to try to go over everything we can here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Grand Theft Auto 6 as, well, we saw the trailer, but of course, before all of that, things leaked out online, whether it was different assets or things in development. The person got caught and they had a very strange thing to say in the courtroom. So if you guys enjoy these videos, make sure to hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're gonna start today with Fortnite, because Fortnite has kind of just morphed and changed into something completely different than, well, yes, when it started, but even when it was just a battle royale game mode. Well, we can see this was posted up over on Twitter. This is from Donald Mustard, who actually did retire from Epic Games, like a couple months ago, I think now. But it was interesting because he shared this diagram here as the Fortnite hub from 2017. So actually, yes, 6 years ago, saying this is the first time we drew out our crazy idea, the idea to evolve Fortnite into a place where you could have all sorts of different agency-driven game and entertainment experiences with your friends, all connected by your hub. Now, if you're unaware, there's like a Lego game type now in Fortnite. There's racing. There's an entire music festival section, I believe, that was developed by Harmonix now. And I would say at this time, Fortnite has kind of turned into what people have been throwing the word metaverse around, into something like that. Now, they're not calling it a metaverse necessarily, or at least in advertising, but it's basically that. Instead of just being a game, it's a place that they're building on top of, and it is incredible to think of where Fortnite started with Save the World to where it is now. Also, we did have a really fun update hit Nintendo Switch Online with that N64 app, as you can see this video that was posted up by Nintendo of America, and we have 3 different Nintendo 64 games that are now live. So we have Harvest Moon 64, 1080 Snowboarding, and Jet Force Gemini. They say a cornucopia of classic Nintendo 64 games are back in season. Farm and Find Love and Cozy Harvest Moon 64 game, Shred Some Snow in 1080 Snowboarding, and Thwart an Interstellar Threat in Jet Force Gemini. All these games are available right now, so check them out if you have that expansion pack on your Switch. I'm curious how 1080 controls. I haven't played that in a long time, actually, now that I think about it, but I've always enjoyed the snowboarding games. However, when we got to like SSX Tricky, that sort of thing on the following generation, to me, that's when it really took off. Jet Force Gemini, I will check out. Harvest Moon 64, I mean, played a lot of Harvest Moon games in the past, and with things like Stardew Valley and stuff, I feel like there are better options, but definitely want to go back and check out Jet Force Gemini, and then maybe play around with 1080 snowboarding a bit just to see how that genre has evolved a bit over time. Oh, and while we do have some Final Fantasy XVI stuff to talk about here later on with the Game Awards, there was one other aspect to it, and that has to do with the PC port that we're anticipating isn't too far out, maybe like a year or so. Well, it appears that Yoshi P has a message for PC gamers out there, just in case you're still operating on a mechanical hard drive. This is actually posted up, we can see, over on Eurogamer. Now, this is citing an interview that Yoshi had with Famitsu, saying details will be announced in due course. However, I would like you to prepare an SSD, a solid-state drive. Even if we did our best to adjust the GPU in Final Fantasy 16, a game where loading speed is critical, using the hard drive would be a pain. And I have to ask this just for PC gamers out there that are watching. I want to know if anyone's still using mechanical hard drive, whether it's a 5400 RPM drive or 7200 RPM drive. Really, I feel like most people have at bare minimum moved on to a solid state drive, and even above that, a lot of people who are, I assume, would be looking at Final Fantasy 16 probably moved on to a much faster NVMe that's just kind of slotted into your motherboard. But yeah, he's letting everyone know now. We're probably 8 to 10 months or so out from this port, I assume coming out, or at least being revealed. Get an SSD if you're still on one of those older mechanical drives. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with the Video Game Awards. That, of course, happened Thursday night. And there was a lot of information that came out of this event, and I'm going to do my best to go over all of it, or at least as much as possible. We're going to talk about all of the different winners, as well as all of the game announcements and game updates that we got from the show. So we'll show some B-roll here and there as I go down the list, but We'll start here, as we did in the pre-show, with the Best Esports event. That was 2023 League of Legends World Championship. Best Esports coach was Christine Chi. The Best Esports team was JD Gaming. Best Esports athlete was Faker. Best Esports game, Valorant. Content Creator of the Year was Iron Mouse. We have our most anticipated game, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I can get on board with that. I'm very, very excited, and only a couple months out, so exciting stuff there. Best multiplayer, Baldur's Gate 3. Best sports and racing was Forza Motorsport. Best sim strategy game, Pikmin 4. Best family game, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Best fighting game was Street Fighter 6. Best RPG, Baldur's Gate 3. Best action adventure game, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Best action game, Armored Core 6. Best augmented reality or virtual reality game was Resident Evil Village with that VR mode. Best mobile game was Honkai Star Rail. Best debut indie game was Cocoon. Best independent game was Sea of Stars. Best community support, Baldur's Gate 3. Best ongoing game was Cyberpunk 2077. Games for Impact was Chia. Innovation and accessibility, Forza Motorsport. Best performance was Neil Newborn. Best audio design was Hi-Fi Rush. Best score and music, Final Fantasy 16. Best art direction, Alan Wake 2. Best narrative, Alan Wake 2. Best adaptation was The Last of Us. The best game direction was Alan Wake 2. And game of the year was indeed Baldur's Gate 3. Now, some of the criticism and controversy came around with how some of these awards were handed out, or how some of these speeches, right, these acceptance speeches were handled, as there was sort of a sign that would flash basically telling you to wrap it up after apparently 60 seconds. Now, I do want to say Jeff Keighley responded to this online, specifically on X, saying early on in the show, they were flashing the wrap it up sign a bit too quickly and playing the music that's like, okay guys, let's get this moving along here. We'll start playing the music louder and louder if we have to. Came up a bit faster than he would have liked, and he sort of told the production to ease up on that a bit. So as we went through the show, the music and stuff would come in later on. But still, it seemed very rushed for a show that went on for seemingly forever. Like, it was a very long show, and it didn't feel like a lot of awards were given out and recognized on stage. There were times where they would kind of rifle through them very quickly, maybe a minute or two to hand out 4 or 5 awards even, and then on to the next game announcement. And that was sort of the problem. I have a video going more in depth on this if you want to see kind of my thoughts around the structure of the show and maybe some suggestions here and there. That is actually up on the channel now, but it was a show that I think for the most part did a really good job announcing a bunch of games. Maybe not as good of a job as recognizing and celebrating the games themselves and the creators from 2023, which is Jeff's big tagline. So that's something he's going to have to wrestle with and figure out as he goes along into the 10th anniversary for the show. But it's going to be 10 years of doing this going into next year. You feel like you would have figured it out. So I kind of feel like what we're seeing with the Game Awards is just kind of how it's going to be going forward at this point. It's really a winter E3 that masquerades as a Game Awards show, which means there were indeed a ton of announcements, and we'll go over all of them here. Again, we'll have some B-roll playing of different things that were announced, but I'm gonna have to go pretty quick because there's quite a bit to look at here. So we'll start from the top. We have Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons remake. That is coming out February 28th, 2024. We have Pony Island 2, Panda Circus, The Rise of Golden Idol, Usual Jane, Harmonium the Musical, that is going to Game Pass Day 1 as well. Windblown, that looked kind of interesting. That was from the creators of Dead Cells, and I'll keep an eye on that one just because of the creators behind it. Thrasher from the creators of Thumper. Dave the Diver and Dredge are having this DLC collaboration, and we had World of Goo 2 getting announced. We also had a new trailer for Metaphor, looking pretty cool there. Of course, the Atlas and the people behind Persona with this new intellectual property for next year. Exodus, this was revealed by Matthew McConaughey on stage. I believe he's a voice in the game. It's ex-BioWare developers, so in that case, worth keeping an eye on, just see what they come up here with this RPG then. God of War Ragnarok, Valhalla, it's free DLC. It's actually out tomorrow, December 12th. Looks kind of cool. I don't think it's anything sizable necessarily, but it's free, which It's kind of out of the norm for Sony. Let's be real. Usually it's like a $10 upcharge. So really cool to see some new content there for God of War Ragnarok. I'll be curious if there's any maybe additional weapons that you earn or items or armor, something as you kind of go through what appears to be basically challenge rooms of progressively harder and harder enemies to fight. We had Big Walk. This is a new game from House, or the developers behind Untitled Goose Game. Looked weird. Have no idea what I saw there, but all right, sure. We'll see what they come up with Big Walk. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown got a trailer. Of course, that is coming out next month. Look out for some coverage, by the way, for that game later on this week, as I did have a chance to play it, so I'll be excited to talk about that. Hellblade 2, they showed off some combat and some incredible looking visuals, but still no release date, 2024. MVG mentioned, as we were talking about this on stream, that he thinks maybe there'll be a developer direct, as they have done in the past, and we'll be able to go to Ninja Theory and they'll show some of the production behind it, and then his with that release date that I'm hoping is first half of 2024. Feels like we've been seeing this game for quite some time. Then we had Kamuri, which was mostly just a CG trailer, so kind of hard to judge some of these games when it was a lot of CG trailer stuff getting shown. But No Rest for the Wicked. It's from Moon Studios. They're behind Ori. Looks really, really cool. Kind of like a dark fairy tale fantasy kind of game, isometric action RPG. Bit out of the norm for them based on the games they've developed and produced there, but we should have more information in March, so definitely keep an eye out for that. Sega shows up and just says, you know what, we're going to announce 5 different classic franchises with new entries: Jet Set Radio, Streets of Rage, Shinobi, and Crazy Taxi, along with Golden Axe, which that one kind of came out of nowhere for me. I'm not sure what they're going to do with Golden Axe, but we saw footage of all of them. I'd say the one that I'm most excited about, obviously, would be Jet Set Radio. That one looked like it had probably the most done to it, just in those quick cuts of different trailers that they had, as you kind of saw the parkour and the animation look pretty good there. So that's the one I'm really, really interested in. But, I mean, it could be really fun to have a year where we have a Crazy Taxi come out, a Jet Set Radio, and a Shinobi that looks awesome. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, we have the title for it. It makes sense. I believe Sparking is the kind of the title they go with in Japan. It looks great. Visually speaking, they're still going with that cel-shaded 3D anime look to it to get as close as they can to what we see on TV or in the movies. But I do like what they're showing off here. Just need that release date. Hopefully it's coming up in 2024, but we'll see. The casting of Frank Stone, this of course is from Supermassive and Dead by Daylight, that kind of lore there. So we'll see how that turns out. Single player, story-driven horror game. We then had Square Enix reveal that there is a new game in the Mana series. That's Visions of Mana, coming out in 2024. Looks awesome. Like, visually speaking, looks great. Still looks like it has kind of that Mana formula with the action RPG setup. So really, really excited. I liked Trials of Mana. Absolutely picking up Visions of Mana day one. Rise of the Ronin. Obviously, you guys know I'm a big fan of things like Ghost of Tsushima, Wolong Fallen Dynasty. I will be all over Rise of the Ronin when that releases March 22nd. So we did get the release date, and it's not too far out. Actually, 3 months, kind of kick off 2024 with that title. Kojima showed up, all right? So he walks out of a door that seemed to be a callback to PT, and he shows up to talk about OD, which is going to be his Xbox Game Studio collaboration title that will be leveraging their cloud compute technology. And then Jordan Peele walks out of the door. They all try to explain this game for a while after showing what was a very brief look at what, I mean, appears to be a digitally created or like digitally rendered humans, as they did show like the MetaHuman and Unreal Engine logos at the end. But I mean, visually it looks great, right? Because they look very, very realistic. I don't really know what's going on, and that's kind of the thing that Kojima likes to do. A lot of out-of-context clips to have you talking or theorizing on what we're looking at here. But they said it's a game, it's a movie. No, wait, it's a new form of entertainment. So I don't know what's happening here, but eventually it'll come out and Kojima will attempt to explain it all over again. Jurassic Park Survival. This looks great, by the way. Alien Isolation vibes from this, but in the Jurassic Park universe. Great idea. Makes sense. You should feel powerless when there are raptors and T-Rex roaming around. You should be trying to hide, figure out how to survive. So that is a great idea. I'll look forward to that one. Black Myth Wukong did get its release date, August 20th. All right, so 2024 is starting to shape up a bit here. Suicide Squad got a trailer. All right, so that happened. Apparently, they are going to have a single-player offline mode that will be in an update post-launch. I I don't know, the Suicide Squad stuff is just, it's all over the place with that one. Warframe Whispers in the Walls. It's an update coming December 13th. Tales of Kenzura Zao, that is coming out April 23rd. This to me looks kind of like, I mentioned Prince of Persia earlier, has kind of that 2D aesthetic to it, but I am a fan of kind of these 2D action adventure, almost Metroidvania style games, so I will keep that one on my radar there. Lost Records, Bloom and Rage, that's from Don't Nod, that's late 2024. The first Berserker, Kazan, that looks good as well. Again, kind of the style of it was very striking in terms of the visual aesthetic. It has kind of that, similar to what we were mentioning with Dragon Ball Sparking, where it has sort of that cel-shaded, realistic anime look to it. Then we have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. There was a whole musical performance. They had a trailer with some new footage to it. Apex Legends and Final Fantasy VII are getting an odd crossover, but it's happening January 9th. Honkai Star Rail, they got a new trailer there. Skull and Bones release date for the 12 people who cared, February 16th, 2024, not too far off. And then Arcane Leon shows up. We heard rumors. We heard this was going to happen. Blade is indeed a thing. Okay, so third-person game. It's action-based, of course. Just started development. No Xbox marketing. This brought into question, is it exclusive? I will tell you now, yes, I believe it is exclusive, but not necessarily to the current Xbox series as we know it, because if it just started development, might not see it for another 5 or 6 years. We might be in a next gen, and I feel like there's still some things they're trying to iron out in the background before telling us that it is an Xbox exclusive or Game Pass exclusive title. I could talk more about this on the second channel maybe, because this became a real talking point online. Twisted Metal, that is getting Season 2. We also have The Last Sentinel. That is from Lightspeed LA, a futuristic Tokyo game. It's from former Rockstar devs, I believe, so that is one to at least keep tabs on because of kind of that lineage behind it. The First Descendant, that's summer 2024. Zenless Zone Zero in 2024. Den of Wolves, this is from 10 Chambers, the studio behind GTFO. Again, a CGI trailer, so not sure. But Exoborn, Master of the Apocalypse, is an open world extraction shooter. Fallout TV show, there's more footage of that. Really, really cool for the Fallout fans, looking forward to it. Light No Fire, Hello Game, sounds like they promised literally the world here, and okay, well, here we go again, maybe, with No Man's Sky. I feel like they learned their lesson. This is something that sounds, in theory, like a really compelling idea. The large to scale planet that you and your friends play in multiplayer and adventure through, build a civilization, discover all kinds of mysteries and stuff. Again, sounds great. We'll see with Hello Games. Then we had Stormgate. We had Elfelt Valentine is heading to Guilty Gear Strive. Final Fantasy 16 DLC. We have Echoes of the Fallen that is out right now. You also get a Buster Sword and get to fight Omega. The Rising Tide is the one I'm really interested in. That is coming out next year, 2024. You will get to fight Leviathan, but that is out right now. I believe it's $25 for the quote-unquote season pass that will come with both pieces of downloadable content. The Finals, that is out right now, so you can check that out. That's from former DICE developers, so there is some destruction in the game. For example, buildings will kind of explode around you or on top of you if you're in one. You have Monster Hunter Wilds. That was the big announcement. More info is coming summer 2024, but this is slated to release in 2025. Looks like there's some real-time weather happening. Seasons are changing on the fly, and it's Monster Hunter, let's be real. It's exciting stuff to see the next big entry in that series. And they forgot to announce this, but Baldur's Gate 3 is out right now on the Xbox Series X and S. Bit of a shadow drop that they forgot to announce was a thing. Okay, so a lot of stuff getting revealed here, a lot of information flying out of the Game Awards, and I think we'll be doubling back on a few of these games in different sections to get more in depth on them, as we did have different developer and publisher interviews and press releases go out. But one thing's for sure, while not a lot of necessarily awards were shown or given time to, a lot of game announcements were there, and they took up like 80% of the show. So if you were going in hoping for some cool games to get shown to get that winter E3, you probably weren't disappointed. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about GTA 6 specifically. The hacks and the leaks that happened, I feel like, what was that, more than a year ago now? Do you remember when stuff started to show up online? It was getting pushed onto places like Twitter, and it showed like pre-alpha footage of development, what appeared to be from a Slack channel that was between developers at Rockstar and outsourcing and that sort of thing. And people were looking at like, this looks terrible. It's like, yeah, it's in pre-alpha. Now we have trailer 1 and people are like, okay, this looks absolutely incredible. but the person behind the hacking and basically, theft of highly confidential files in game development was caught. And they said something very strange, and it is a weird thing you would say with Take-Two looming in the distance and then prosecutors right across from you, which we can see this posted up this over on Rockstar Intel. Says the teenage hacker behind the massive GTA 6 gameplay leak has been in court to be sentenced for his crimes. 18-year-old, Ariane Cartage was found guilty by a UK jury in August, but the sentencing had been delayed. So this is from the Daily Mail, who has also reported statements made by prosecutor Kevin Barry regarding the GTA 6 leak, saying this material was highly confidential as the game is a billion-dollar franchise and the latest installment is hotly anticipated. He published some of the stolen footage taken during the hack on online forums and blackmailed Rockstar Games that he would release the precious source code, which forms the building blocks of the game unless they contacted him, presumably to discuss ransom payment. Mr. Cartage is determined to commit further offenses if he gets the opportunity to do so. That determination is undimmed by spending time in custody over the year. So yeah, apparently the person that's being accused of all of this and has been in custody is saying, well, if I get a chance, I'll do it again. It's an interesting strategy, again, with say that in court and have Rockstar and Take-Two. As I've mentioned before, they mean business when it comes to a lot of this stuff in the courtroom. It's them and Nintendo. It's like, don't mess with Take-Two, don't mess with Nintendo. They are the most strict and serious and will even waste money to make an example. So to say that if you get out, even after serving time, you'll just do it again, that's probably not playing in your favor with the judge in the courtroom. So yeah, weird situation here with GTA 6. There's still some questions around how that trailer leaked out, and I'm sure we'll eventually find out kind of the backstory around that whole situation, because of course it did force them to change plans on what is a massive release. I mean, we see the view count, we know what the sales are going to be, and that completely threw them off their game, at least early on in the marketing cycle. But yeah, just for future reference for everyone out there, probably not the best thing to do in court when you're up against a big company like a Take-Two or Rockstar. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're going to take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, which is the start of round 2 for Game of the Year Madness, which you can see this. And yes, it looks like Hi-Fi Rush is going to take down F-Zero 99. Sean said that F-Zero 99 would basically walk right past Hi-Fi Rush because Nintendo games just win on this poll, but I mean, here's Hi-Fi Rush taking down F-Zero 99. Super Mario RPG was actually already knocked out in round 1. I don't know, this is getting interesting. Hi-Fi Rush maybe moving on past round 2, although it's shaping up like it's gonna have a pretty serious challenge in front of it, but let's not get too ahead of ourselves here. We gotta see what happens. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Lead, who says, John, I'm surprised you think Nintendo canceling is ridiculous. Other countries aren't used to nonstop reports of violence happening. Any company that gets these threats has a duty to protect people at the event. It's just a video game event, not worth the risk. So I think people misread what I meant when I say it was ridiculous that all this happened. I said it's ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous that Nintendo has to deal with the situation in the first place because it's a video game convention gathering, a tournament, and they're getting threats of violence over apparently a Splatoon tournament. Like that part, that whole thing sounds ridiculous. Not the fact that Nintendo decided to cancel it because, yeah, if they're concerned and they're like, okay, something seems off here, it's a video game gathering, tournament, why risk it, right? That's the ridiculous part, that any of this is happening in the first place because, like, it's video games, right? And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. What is the Game Awards in general? What were your thoughts on the overall show? What were your thoughts on some of the winners? And of course, the big game announcements. What were your favorite ones at the show and which ones surprised you the most? And also, what about the GTA 6 situation with the person who is being tried right now for hacking and stealing all this stuff, saying, well, if I get out, I'll do it again. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.